Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, Monday edition. Good to be back here. Lots of news, lots of happenings over the last week or so. And I've got a couple of special guests. There's going to be more of them coming with you guys, with the fan cams coming up later. I have got Ian and Lockie from the Navy Blue Corner. Lads, good evening.
Welcome. Thank you, Terry. Thanks for having us on.
Did you just say welcome? This isn't our show, Ian, but it's good to be here, Terry. Thanks for having us. We're feeling very welcome on the Blue Abroad Show.
It's our channel, so yes, it is very much welcome.
Okay.
I'm glad to be in your presence, guys.
One step ahead, Ian. I like it.
Yeah.
Not used to being in the not host seat, so it's nice to someone else ask me the questions for once, I think.
Yeah, you're here to provide your expert opinions. So I'm excited. For those who don't know who the two of you are, first of all, where you been? I don't know where you've been and what you've been listening to, and I don't know what world you've been living in. But guys, you are the hosts or co-hosts, stars of the Navy Blue Corner podcast. So I guess before we kick things off, I'd like to introduce you guys to those who haven't met you in the audience. Give us a bit of a rundown. What's the story? Tell us about the Navy Blue Corner.
It's a good one. Yeah, so I'm Ian. Lockie is the other bloke there. So we've been mates for years, went to high school with each other and always wanted to chat Carlton. And I suppose everyone's doing a podcast these days. There's like 1,000 Carlton podcasts out there. So a couple of years ago when lockdown started, the delay in the footy season, we thought, why not start one ourselves? We've always, wanted to be getting our thoughts out there. And we always saw a lot of, I guess, negativity and probably a lot of it was there for, rightfully so with the performances and whatnot. But we thought we could give a bit of a different positive spin and give different sort of view to things. So, we eventually got the podcast started and it's been, on pretty much 2 seasons now. And it's been ridiculous. The amount of people that have listened, the feedback, it's amazing. Being able to chat to everyone, answer questions, that was kind of selfishly one of the big reasons I wanted to get into it, was just to find more people to chat about Carlton with. And it's definitely been like that. It's been amazing.
No, that's great. That's really good to hear. Well, as I said, I'm excited to have you guys on. Tonight's going to be a lot of fun. They're always fun, but, when you have new people to chat to, and also when you combine that with a lot has happened in the last 7 days, like a lot of on-field stuff, off-field stuff, a lot of impactful stuff has happened. So what I'll do is I'll play a little intro as we do every week, thank our beautiful members, and then we'll I think we can get this show on the road.
Beautiful.
What's going on? Internet! Martin's been very impressive every single time.
I saw the Carlton supporters and I thank you for the love.
Davis playing Glasgow, and there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50, control! He strikes it beautifully.
Alrighty. Want to give a shout out to the members of this YouTube channel. Your support is unbelievable. It's very much. I'm very grateful for it. We're all very grateful for it here on the channel. You do support things and you allow things like the studio to grow, gizmos and gadgets get purchased, player sponsors. We've got Charlotte Wilson and Corey Durden lined up for season 2022 in the AFL and the AFLW seasons. And your names will appear on the bottom. Guys, also, I wanted to continue on the conversation about the podcast because what really sort of spiked my interest. Now, I'm very much aware of what you guys do, but you guys had the POM on last week. Now, that is a big deal, first of all, because I think it might have been the first time he's been a guest on a channel or a podcast aside from the Blue Abroad channel. And there was just an energy about the show. It was well received from what I heard.
Oh, we were very gracious to have the POM in our presence. And you're right, the rumors are true about the podcast drought. So yeah, look, you can already just see in the comments there, he's a man of the people, and we're very lucky to have him on. And you're right. I think whenever I could get a word in, it was great. But it's good to hear the man, give all his thoughts and just a bundle of energy and positivity. We love him.
Yeah, it was definitely one of the most fun podcasts I think that we've recorded. First ever guest as well. So we had to get some absolute Carlton royalty in by getting the POM in. And we've never really, I guess, spoken too much beforehand either. So it was good that there was that chemistry from the start, and just a beautiful man he is.
you guys, I wouldn't say fell victim to, but I noticed it was one of your first encounters with the man that has puns on tap, ready to go.
He leaves you speechless with the quality of them.
Yeah, I've been working with Tom for 2 years now, and they don't get old. They just get funnier and funnier and more new. So, no, that was good fun. That was good fun. And the other thing as well, which I like what you guys have done, is you've gone through your draft analysis, but more so over the rebuild, I'll call it. How is that? How is that going?
Yeah, that was a long process to, I guess, research. We sort of went through since from basically 2009 till present in every single draft pick that's happened, every single trade that the club has done. So that took a while to organize, but we wanted to get a bit of a gauge of what led us to the rebuild in the first place, and then obviously with all the massive changes that have happened, new coaches. And this reset, I suppose, is how we're going to call it. What probably led to that, and any missteps that could have happened, any lessons we can take, and just a really good overview of, we had some, I guess, thoughts of maybe what had gone wrong before we did it. But then when you lay out the evidence, you can either draw your own conclusions and actually see what happened. So there's both of those episodes up on our YouTube channel, Navy Blue Corner. So if you want to watch all that, it's a couple of hours of content. So maybe I'll put the kettle on for that one and tuck in. It's a bit of a long journey, but hopefully it's worth it.
Yeah, no, it was. I think the more commentary we have around such things, the better, because we can learn a thing or two. When it comes to drafting and points and draft points and whatnot, I have no idea whatsoever. I just sit back and listen and learn. So it's good stuff. It's good to see the community growing and evolving, and the industry as well. I think the Carlton fan content community, I know I'm biased, but I really do believe the Carlton fans that create content, we really do lead the way. So I'm excited. Now we're going to begin, because there's plenty to get through. The first item on the agenda is our man Sam Doherty and our beautiful football club. Obviously, Sam's going through his battle that he's going through right now. It was only 7 days ago. It was probably an hour or so before the show started, maybe even half an hour, that Cripps put up the photo, talking about the boys are going to shave their heads, in honor of Sam Doherty. And they're also looking to raise some funds and awareness for the Peter Mac Foundation. Now, this time last week, the goal was 5,000. I remember when I first saw it, I thought, okay, it's a very nice, gesture. I wasn't sure if it was just like a player thing or whatever the case may be. As it stands right now, $175,000 has been raised via this link.
That's amazing. That is incredible. It's so amazing to just see, obviously the Carlton community, but the wider football community just really rally around him. That's obviously going through such a tough time that you never wish on anyone. And that's selfishly from a footballing point of view, to see just how much the boys have gotten around him to do such a big thing. Like, you look at guys like, TDK and Luke Parks that have the absolute mop on their head, that probably maybe didn't want to have to shave their head, but, there's obviously bigger things than hair. And to see everyone, I'm pretty sure every single player now has shaved their head. It's just incredible. And then to see the amount of money raised is just incredible.
It's a very proud time to be a Carlton supporter, I think, to see what they've done. I mean, I know that we all get caught up in, the on-field, and we want premierships and we want success. But sometimes every now and again, things come along that remind us that, there's more to life. I remember, quite a few years ago, when J-Mac passed away we played at Collingwood and then Port Adelaide. And that was one of the first few times in my experience, watching the game, where I was like, shit, this is, it just sort of hit me in the face. So when this happened, and then when you see the photo of Doc, and he's obviously had his head shaved and he's about to, go through the next phase of his treatment, it's very, very sobering.
Yeah, 100% right. But and you're spot on as well, that it is an extremely proud time to be a Carlton member and fan. And yeah, I think, like you said, Cripps was the first one off the bat. And then as each one went, I don't know, you might think that, the gesture gets old, or, it's just the same thing. But every single time you see a photo of one of the boys, it's heartfelt, and it just shows how close they all are. And yeah, it's a great time.
There's something symbolic about all of them shaving their heads. It's
Yep.
very minute. I know hair grows back, all of that, but there's something about everyone doing the same thing and doing it in unison, and obviously even the fans as well. Excuse me.
Yeah.
A lot of the fans have got on board as well. I think, yeah. I mean, I know that this time of the year we're always hopeful, but it's different. There's something different going on.
Yeah, just to see, I guess, how tight the group were probably before this to all do that. I think that there's times that maybe just like the players that were really close to him would maybe do this, but to see every single person jump at the opportunity, and probably the thing that's surprised me the most is to see the new recruits today that, Chera, Young, Hewitt as well, all to do it, just to come straight into the club and be like, yeah, this is what we're doing. This is what we do at Carlton. It's everyone for everyone. And I mean, that's amazing. And even touched on, I think, like the fans and seeing so many younger fans, like there were so many kids out there that were shaving their head in support. And I just think that just to bring the community together, like obviously whatever happens on the field happens on the field, but just to know that everyone is clearly in this for each other, it obviously just means so much.
Greg has put a comment here saying that'll get to $220,000 if Tez takes his beautiful locks off.
Whoa.
Yeah. I got to ask you boys, are you shaving the head? What's the move?
Oh, mate, it's crossed my mind. I think, yeah, look, we'll be recording a show on Wednesday, Ian and I, for our channel, and we might have to prepare something for that. I think we might be on.
Yeah,
potentially. We'll definitely see. Worst case, there'll be definitely plenty of money to go around for the cause. But yeah, maybe I have to watch out for that one.
Yeah,
we're in if you're in, Tez.
All right, I'm in.
Boom.
We've got him. We've got him.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. So last week, Tom put me on the spot. He's like, "You got to do it." I'm like, "No. I'm very vain about my hair." And then when I saw more people doing it, like there's something about what's going on. I'm really big on symbolism and that uniting notion. I'm really big on that, and I think there's an opportunity for us as fans as well to really connect here. So for those of you watching, there's about 170 odd of you now watching across the platforms. As Blackerat puts in a $31 donation, says, "Do it, shave fundraiser." You guys are all the first to know that Thursday we're doing the best and fairest watch along, Pom and I. But before that, I'm thinking either 6 or 6:30. Just don't hold me to that, but it'll be one of the two. I'm going to be shaving this motherfucking hair off. I'm going to do it. Yeah, I think there's a beautiful, symbol to it, and I want to be a part of it as well. And there's something. It's something totally different. And I guess if you're going to shave your head, you got to do it for a good enough cause. So this is it. It's going to happen.
Oh, that gets me very excited. Yeah, that's it. Let's all buy in, get involved together.
Absolutely. So I've put the link in the comments just now for those of you, if you would like to donate. It's the same link that the boys have set for Doc. If not, that's fine. I think anything where you're just sharing or liking or commenting or just helping spread the word, that's really what it's all about, and providing some more exposure. I think he's great, and as I said, I'm really proud of what I've seen, not just from the players, but from the whole community.
Yeah, exactly right. I think, I thought it was great to see Luke Sayers doing it as well. Love to see that from him. I think he's continuing to do all the right things through this. And oh, wow. I'm speechless. I'm excited, Tez. I can't wait to see that mug.
All right. Well, we'll see how we go. I'm shitting myself, but anyway, it should be fun. The next item on the agenda. Now we had some what we call them farewells. Obviously, the Sam Petrevski-Seton deal ended up going through. We locked in Lewis Young, and we gave up, or what was it, pick 52 or something. There was a 3-team deal, and then obviously we've had some delistings in I think it was Sam Ramsey and Michael Gibbons as well. We'll touch on Gibbons in a minute, but I just want to get your reactions to the Sam Petrevski-Seton news, because I know that there was, I had it as well. You fall in love with your boys that you draft, and you hope that, they're not leaving until you see them in another polo. Well, we saw Samo in a West Coast polo today. And I heard you guys talk a little bit about it on your podcast as well. What was your reaction to the final news that he was gone?
Yeah, so it was interesting. As you mentioned, he was one of those players that, and I think Lockie mentioned this on the podcast during the week, that it's when we drafted and went to the draft for this rebuild, he was one of the, I think, second year of the rebuild, the first round pick, and you almost expect all of these guys to be there when we finally, lift the Premiership Cup and have all of this success. So I guess to see one of those go, it's always disappointing. To see him basically go for pick 52 is even more disappointing, knowing, I guess, how many games we've pumped into him and attempted development. It's always quite disappointing. But I think if you look at it in the end, and maybe I'm trying to be a bit more positive on it now that he's obviously moved on, I think trying to look at what we are building here, I don't want to be harsh to him because I loved him and I love the service he's brought to the football club. But if we're going to, I guess, keep taking those next steps, there's probably a fair few chunk of players that we have currently on the list that are maybe in his mold of they kind of half forward, they're kind of pinch hit in the midfield. We don't know where their best position is. They haven't been consistent. We're sort of hoping that they come on, and obviously that's never guaranteed. So I guess to lose one of those isn't the worst thing to happen. And I think the fact that we've been able to bring in maybe a Lewis Young, that we needed a key defender, we maybe didn't need another one of these half forward midfielders. I think that the return in the end, hopefully, can look good in a couple of years, but it's always going to be disappointing to lose one of those almost like foundation members of the rebuild.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, in a fairy tale world, we draft the kids that we draft and they all go on to be part of the Premiership side. And, the reality is, like, that's just not common. It doesn't happen all the time like that, especially when you have, multiple seasons of, we'll call it underachieving. I think I always find it a little tricky to say that word because I sort of remind myself, am I overrating our list, or do I believe that we have a lot of talented players? That I'm certain we have a lot of talented players, but yeah, when I sort of look back on Samuel, I just feel like, there was an opportunity there, I would assume, for him to have that fresh slate. I'm not convinced that it's purely based on the midfield time that Teague was or wasn't giving him. Maybe I'm in denial, but I just, it's a shame because I would have loved for him to, speak to Voss say, this is what I'm going to need from you to crack into this position that you want to play, and him go. But then on the other end, it's like, all right, well, that's why we brought in free agency and such things, so players can have a bit more empowerment and some movement. And ultimately, I'm disappointed, but that's just more of a, it's an emotion thing because I love Samo.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you both. And I think it's similar to, I think the discussion we're about to have about Big Gibbo is that plenty of these players, the fans call for, get them into the midfield, and there's just a finite amount of players that can make that spot. And some players shine and they get their way in and then you can't push them out. But blokes like SBS, like, yeah, maybe he didn't get as much opportunity as he could have. And that's, you can debate that point if you want, but yeah, he had a really good crack, and yeah, definitely sad to see him go. But we knew that not every top high pick that we took through this rebuild was going to be there for the Premiership side, and there's still a whole bunch of them that have been amazing and are going to be there for it. So, yeah.
No, well said. We will move on to the next item, which is Michael Gibbons.
Your man?
He was my man. Let's just set the tone, give it the full context it deserves. So Gibbo's gone on SCN. He's not happy that he's been delisted, and fair enough. No one should be happy when such things have happened. But he spoke on SCN with Gary and Tim, and I've condensed it into the highlights of the interview. So this is what Gibbo had to say.
What's your initial response and reaction and emotion to the news that you won't be running around for the Blues next year?
Obviously, pretty disappointed, fellas. Yeah, it was I could say it was a bit of a shock, but just the way the clubs work, you both understand. I could see the writing on the wall a little bit there from probably the latter part of the year once they announced the review. Sort of could see things weren't turning my way, just some conversations, but then people stop talking to you, and it sort of goes that way. And then but obviously still want the call. I was completely bitterly disappointed, and yeah, pretty flat, mate. Pretty flat, to be fair.
Did you feel like you got the opportunity to play the position that you play best?
Like in the end, we when I first got there, obviously I was like a pretty dominant midfielder. in the VFL, and then Bolts was obviously in charge when I first got there, and the need for a small pressure forward was basically the only way I could really get a spot on the list. So I sort of nutted down and went for that. And then in the end, like the 3 years I spent there, I was solely focused on that, and I genuinely enjoyed it, putting time into that. So I think in the end, like I mentioned it the other day, but I sort of when they gave me the flick in the end, the justification that they saw me as a good midfielder, and that I play my best footy as a midfielder. That's probably about it. Yeah, like as I was just saying, I just said at the end of that team, yeah, that was, as I said, that was probably what was more disappointing. They said they see me as a really good midfielder, but I never played 1 minute in midfield for the Blues, unfortunately, which is, but in the end, like it never really hurt me in the time, because I was happy playing as a forward and learning the craft that way, and thought I was contributing that way. But yeah, in the end, they sort of didn't see it that way, I guess.
The coach and the review and all those sorts of things. How would you describe the atmosphere in that past, the last 10 weeks of the year?
Yeah, it was incredibly stressful. I think if you talk to anyone that was in it throughout that time, I think a lot of people will try and play it off, but you've got coaches that don't know if they'll be there next year, having to perform weekly and stay as positive people, players in the same position, and so it just creates a pretty, I guess, in the end, a pretty, I wouldn't say toxic, but like it's pretty unspoken about, I guess, to a point. But then when you sit down and have a chat to a couple of blokes towards the latter end of the year, like it was getting to everyone. And as you say, like it's no fault of the media or anything, but it's in the media every day, and then it just becomes a bit of a cycle, doesn't it?
Okay. So there's a bit to unpack here. There were some points. I mean, from my point of view, I was shocked, because Gibbons to me represented exactly what I thought the list needed. A guy that had come the hard way, been overlooked initially, did his time in the VFL, continued to be overlooked, but kept playing, got his spot, and I thought it was a really good story. Maybe I'll ask you guys, what was your reaction to hearing that?
Take it away, Ian, while I digest this.
Okay, yeah. Look, it's interesting. I guess, like if everyone listened to our podcast, doing like the list analysis and who we were, I guess delisting and to bring players in, I think we both delisted Mickey Gibbons. The justification I think that we were giving were, okay, if you say he's a midfielder, we're bringing in a Chera and Hewitt. He's already down the pecking order of so many. So if he's looking to get in there probably isn't really a spot for him. And then you're looking at the small forwards, and I think unfortunately his biggest issue is he is 26 years old. So he's probably trying to hit his peak now, but I unfortunately just don't think his level is... Like, I think he has a really good floor, but I don't think he has much of a ceiling as being that small forward. And you look at Durden, Honey, these guys that we have coming through, you're probably wanting to start to give these guys a little bit more of an opportunity to grow and be the guys that take us forward. So I guess when I first heard he was delisted, I wasn't probably too surprised. I was probably a little bit more surprised about Ramsey, in the hope that maybe just because he's that little bit younger, I saw a little bit more going forward. I think in the perfect world, if we had a bigger list, you'd probably want to keep a guy like Mickey Gibbons there, because he can play a few positions. He's a bit more of that experienced body, but I just don't, personally, this is my opinion. I don't see him being in our best 22. And if I'm trying to give opportunities to guys coming through in the draft, like a Jack Carroll in a couple of years, and it's like a list spot between those kind of guys, I'm unfortunately going to go for the younger guy over Mickey Gibbons. That's probably where I see it.
Yeah, I was fuming, if I'm honest. I was irate, probably more because of the shock factor that he would make such comments. I mean, there was another part of the interview where he said that his manager told him to just cool off for a week or so, and then we'll get back into the swing of things. So he's obviously emotions are high. He really didn't see it coming potentially. However, he did say that the writing was on the wall. There were a few things there, and I mean, I'm not here to give flames to excuses and just mentality that's not winning, because we've done that for too long, and the entitlement really crept in for me. That was my take on it. I was listening to a guy that thought he was entitled to more than what he was, and in many respects, I do think he was a bit stiff, because he's a solid player.
Yeah,
he mentioned a few things, like he could see the writing on the wall a little bit. He mentioned that comment about people stopped talking to him. So straight away, I'm like, all right, well, okay, great. You're very smart. You saw it coming. Why didn't you have this harsh conversation at the time there and nip it in the bud there? Why was there no conversations on, hey, I'm noticing this is happening. What can I do to get better? The next part for me was the justification of the club. I play my best footy in the midfield. I didn't play 1 minute in the midfield. That is a blatant lie. That's a lie.
Yeah.
That is a dead set lie. And then once I heard that, that's when the anger started sparking, because he was never named in the midfield to start a game. But it's not like he never played in the midfield or never had a spurt in the midfield.
Yeah.
And I just thought, once he started lying there, I thought, oh my God, he shouldn't be doing this interview. He's too many emotions. And granted, we don't know the pressures that go on the inside and what they're really thinking and what's going on. They're very isolated and all of that. But you make a choice to come on this interview and you make a choice to badmouth the club the way you did. For me, it was super disappointing and borderline unprofessional for me.
Yeah, I agree with that, with what you said there about about the midfield minutes. I kind of lost the credibility in what he was saying. And when I originally saw his comments about the, all the Teague stuff and the review and all that, those things that were going on, I thought that was really interesting. But it kind of lost that credibility when I saw the comments about the midfield minutes, because like you said, it's just not true. And I think something that Ian and I always talk about is, like, obviously through the season, you have your ins and outs of the week, and there's always 8 players that, need to come in, and then only 2 that people want to get dropped. And we're at this part of the season where delistings have to be made. And I agree that Gibbons is not the worst player on our list and didn't deserve to go based on that. But I agree with the points that you made, Ian, about the ceiling. And and everyone just has their own opinion. Some people think that, O'Brien or Dow are lower in the pecking order than him, but I just don't agree, because I still see those players as having high ceilings and can still be in that premiership team for mine.
Yeah, I think it's also like hard when you're doing, like, that was the thing that we did when we were trying to do like the who comes in and who comes out, was because he's on the senior list, it's so much harder to keep those guys on, because everyone we're bringing in is on the senior list. If we draft people, obviously in the national draft, that's going on the senior list. So the ones that you'd probably say, like, that maybe like a Cottrell and maybe an Oscar McDonald as guys that you'd maybe flick out before him, they have the benefit of being on the rookie list. So there's a bigger chance that you're able to keep them because there's not too many ins and outs on that part of it. I think as far as the comments that he made, like, I think at the start of it, it's all pretty fair. At the start, it makes sense that he's going to be a little bit annoyed. Then when he starts to, I guess, get a little bit more vocal in it, I think that's just a little bit of an unprofessional look, particularly if you're still trying to get picked up from other clubs. To come off like bitter, maybe you're right. He should have just taken it an extra day. It seemed raw. Like, he was always throwing around words. And I think even when he said, I don't want to throw around the word toxic or whatever, it's like, well, you just did. So you're sort of, I hate when people do that personally. I guess I'm probably not as frustrated, maybe just me, because I'm maybe not as emotionally connected with Gibbo. And I probably saw that he was someone that was going to go. But yeah, it's definitely not a good look from him to be saying that. And then, I can understand his frustration around the midfield, because yes, he definitely played somewhat in the midfield, but I don't think he was ever really given the best opportunity of, okay, you're attending the center bounces, and here's a couple of games of you playing 100% midfield. Now, who knows? Maybe there was a reason he didn't play that. Was his tank not good enough? Was he not doing the work in training? Like, those are things we'll never know. And probably the other thing I wanted to mention was, him saying, oh, they saw my best position as a midfielder. It's like, well, maybe the new people coming in and Vossi and all these guys went, yeah, you were the best midfielder in the VFL. Of course, you're going to be a midfielder now. That's where we see your best position. There's other guys that we like in the small forward. You're only doing that because of a makeshift reason. And now he's going, oh, well, am I not a midfielder? I'm a small forward. It's like, well, what do you want? Do you want to play midfield? Do you not want to play midfield? Yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird one from Mickey.
See, I'm really passionate. I think why I'm getting so worked up is because this is a little microcosm of not just AFL, but society in general. And you mentioned, Ian, like he said, I don't want to use the word toxic. Well, why don't you be a fucking man? You want to be a hero and come on the airwaves, throw out words, stand by your word. You thought it was toxic. No worries. Maybe it was toxic. But then as he kept going, I'm waiting. Maybe he's going to say, but at the end of the day, it's on the players and for us to perform. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear one thing about him saying, I could have done this better, or I need to improve on this to get a second chance. And I'll give you an example of what someone who has recognized their shortcomings and what they're going to do about it. This is Corey Durden on an interview not a few days ago on a podcast called Into the Fire with the young fella. I don't know his name. I'm very sorry about that. But the channel's called Into the Fire. Just have a listen to this.
You had a lot of positives from the commentators, and rightly so. Your forward pressure was enormous. However, your disposals were a little low for you. Is that something you're looking to increase on next year?
Yeah, certainly. I think that's probably something I sort of struggled with throughout the year, is just involvement in the game. My pressure is probably like my biggest strength, and something I really pride myself on. But if I can get more involved in the game, I think I have a really good impact as a small forward. And part of that, the way I'm going to improve it, is just by getting my work rate and fitness up.
So identified, this is where I'm not strong at, and this is what I'm going to do to improve it. This is how I'm going to fix it. And it brings me back, and I think where the flame started coming from, I was getting comments in my DMs on Instagram from younger, kids, teenagers saying, oh, it's unfair, this and that. And then I'm like, is anyone missing the point here? Life is not fair. It's unfair. It's tough. We're going through a lockdown. There are a lot of it's tough. AFL is a tough gig. The pressures, the isolation, all of that, it's all very tough. But the reality is only the strong survive and only the strongest thrive. It's just that, like, what are we going to sit here and sob about it for? There's two types of reactions when you have such breakups. It's you're either going to complain about it, or you're going to be the person and seek attention and seek validation for how bad you have it and unfair it is, or you're going to get the fuck on with it and you're going to move on and become better from it. And I just was shocked that he didn't take that second approach and just use the motivation internally. Like, don't prove yourself to everyone by telling people that you're going to prove everyone wrong. Deontay Wilder did that for the last 2 years, said he's going to prove everyone wrong until he didn't. And I just think we've got to be very careful. We're trying to set an example for kids. Let's not do it by complaining about what's going on and how life's unfair, because you're setting them up for failure, thinking that this is some fairy tale. This is a tough place to live in. We're lucky to wake up every day, And
maybe that's honestly, like, not to be disrespectful to him, but like maybe that's literally the reason that he didn't become like our best midfielder and why he may not be on an AFL list next year, because maybe that's the route he takes every time, that he just doesn't have that competitive edge that can make him one of the better AFL players, because he whinges a little bit and he doesn't get things his way and he doesn't take all those steps. And I think to some degree, when he was asked to play small forward, it seems like he was pretty happy to be like, okay, what can I do on the list to do that? And he did a decent job at it, but maybe, he was an okay, small forward, and that's why he couldn't be a really good small forward and stay on the list.
Yeah, and like was alluded to earlier, like all we see is these comments and what we know in the public. We don't know what he was like at training, whether they were like, right, here's some benchmarks we want you to hit, and then you're going to get that midfield time. Maybe didn't do it and didn't hit them. You never know those things. And I'm looking now to the future for him. And like, is there a team in the league that he walks into their midfield, the starting midfield? Because I don't necessarily think so.
If I'm a winning organization with winning principles and premiership standards, I'm not even touching him, because I know that if he doesn't get his way, he's going to think some other way about it. Like I'm personally, that's my take. I was really disappointed with it, because nothing is given. Like nothing is given in this life. Nothing at all. None of us earn. We don't. No one deserves anything. You got to earn it. You got to earn your way. Sit here and sulk about it all you like, or you can just get back to the work. So that's how I feel about that. I feel really strongly about that, because I think when I saw the youngins messaging about it, saying it was unfair, it really sparked something in me. It's not how I live my life, and it doesn't mean everyone's going to do it my way. But I think there is a serious problem with that. I actually put together a little clip that I'm going to play on motivation, and there's some home truths in there, and I hope we can all learn something from this.
I don't think complaining and whining really solves the problem. This is Jackie Robinson, first black major leaguer, had it in his contract not to complain if people spit on him. Now, I don't care if you're Jackie Robinson or if you're a guy like me who's only got a couple of months to live. You can choose to take your finite time and energy and effort, and you can spend it complaining, or you can spend it playing the game hard, which is probably going to be more helpful to you in the long run.
The real problem, which, by the way, no one ever talks about, is that everywhere we look at society, we celebrate victimhood. We are no longer celebrating people who put in the work. We are no longer celebrating people who overcome. Instead, we are celebrating people who have the saddest story. Well, let me tell you something, guys. You can compete for that your entire life, and nobody's going to bring you a thing except a couple likes and a couple bull comments that people don't mean.
I was a fucking pathetic motherfucker, man. People cannot say that to themselves. We have to choose these great fucking magical words that make people feel good. Tell yourself the truth.
The only people that are going to win are going to be the people who recognize the opportunity to improve when they get punched in the fucking face. I see a lot of stories talking about how fucking hard people have it. It's one thing to share stories about how hard things are when you've overcame those things. It's a whole nother thing to share those stories about how hard things are so that you get attention. The ones that keep telling the sad story. You need to understand something. No one gives a fuck about your sad story unless you're doing something to overcome it. You're not inspiring anybody. You're not empowering anybody. You're pacifying people and trying to convince them to be more like you, someone who will not execute against the problems that they already know that they have. No one gives a shit about your struggles. No one gives a shit how hard you have it. And to be completely fucking honest, you don't have it that fucking hard. Okay?
Powerful.
I'm pumped.
And I'm done.
We can go hit the gym test or something. I need to get some energy out now.
Yeah, I think as I was playing that clip and like editing it, I started getting more fired up because I'm like, let's fucking go. So anyway, that's that. Stop complaining and start taking control of what you can control. That's the message, I think. Let's move on.
I think Helena sums that up perfectly. She said in the chat, she said, nothing is a given in life.
Yeah, spot on.
Nothing at all. We're going to talk about one more thing before I open the field up. So those of you who want to come on and ask a question to either of the three of us, or just bring up a topic and whatnot, the link is in the comments now. We have a little waiting room here if you can wait a little bit, and we'll get you on. But the next item, boys, I'll do it with the three of you, is just generally the trade period. Nick Austin, we've done our business. He came on. He went on the trade radio with, I think it was Riley Beveridge and Cal Toomey, and said, no, we're done. We'll take pick 25 to the draft, go to the draft next year as well. What is your take, and you guys at home, what is your take on our trade period?
Yeah, I'll jump in first and just give a quick, really positive thought about it, because, I was really happy with how it all went down. And, it is nice not to be waiting to the last minute to see if we're going to get a certain player or something like that. It was nice to get it all done early. And, look, everyone is going to have their own opinions on what different players are worth around this time. But I was really happy with what we were able to get done, because at the end of the day, our list is going to be better for it, and our team round one next year is going to be better. We've bolstered the midfield. We've got Young in for some more depth as well. And, I just couldn't be unhappy with this period for mine.
Yeah, I agree. I think for better or worse, whether you think you could have got a better deal if things, progressed and we were there till the last second of the trade on Wednesday, I'm happy for once that we finally got all of our shit done in about 3 days, and it was done. And you go, cool, we've got our players and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to stress. There's not going to be a Papley situation, a Jack Martin situation. I think, good clubs go in, they find their players, they get it done quickly. And I think for once we've finally done that, and you can haggle over a future fourth. Should we got this back or whatever? At the end of the day, I mean, we did our our look at every single trade that's happened over the past since 2009, so however many years that is, and no one remembers what was given in the steak knives of a trade, unless someone like an idiot like Adam Cooney wants to bring it up on trade radio for some ratings or whatever. No one cares. We got our players in. We needed midfielders. We got a tackling one. We got a guy who can do a bit of both. Classy outside player. We bolstered the key defense. You can't complain, really.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think we spoke about it last week. You add Chera and Hewitt to the mix, and then obviously this time of the year is filled with hope and dreams. And I guess in our case, the hope is that someone like a Dow, someone like a Setterfield, someone like a Kennedy, or a Stocker can just elevate to that next level and become that next contributor. Because we saw with the grand final, you saw the possession getters in that midfield for both teams. You need depth throughout there, and that's definitely something that let us down. And I think maybe more than depth, it was just that hunt mentality, the tackle pressure. We leaked a lot from the midfield, and I mean, I hope it looks like we've filled the needs, but it also looked that way last year. So I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, but I'm also very much ready, for anything.
Yeah, I think there's also a little bit of a kind of an obsession towards draft picks as well. I mean, the players that you listed there, Tez, were all first round picks, and there's a whole another bunch of first round picks on our list that aren't necessarily superstar status yet. Of course, you got Walsh and Mackay and Wiederings and those guys, but not every first round pick hits. So I think people that were so worried about giving up what is going to be pick 8 for Chera, who is going to be. We know that he's going to be incredible for a number of years. For me, when we're in this period, like at this time of our rebuild, if you want to call it that, you take the players. And if it was 4 or 5 years ago, yeah, get all those picks in. But right now, get the talent in.
And I think it looks a bit different to last year as well. Like, I understand the apprehension. Every year we seem to get these players in and we go, cool, we're playing finals. We're going to win the flag. And then it doesn't seem to happen. But I think last year we desperately needed some older, more experienced players. We brought those guys in, and maybe we were looking for like the superstar player, maybe in like a Zach Williams, that I guess there's still definitely a chance for him to do it, but he didn't show it this season. Whereas I feel like there was a slightly different approach where we were going really hard for need. It was, okay, we need tackle in the midfield. We need guys that can actually do the dirty work. We bring in Hewitt, who got 13 tackles in an elimination final, which is ridiculous. I don't know how many players last season, if we had made the elimination final, you would have been like, they're going to be the tackling machine that might win us the game. And you bring in a guy like Chera that he fits the age demographic of what we're kind of building. He's one of those that if we had drafted him, he's Paddy Dow's draft. So he would have been perfect now to go forward into his best years ahead of him. So I think for once we sort of traded for need almost rather than just trying to do this whole Messiah complex once again. So it was really, I guess, refreshing.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you got anything in mind for what we still need to fill? Because I think before trade period, I was thinking, well, I'd like to get another defender, to replace potentially a Liam Jones in a couple of years, whether we drafted one or traded for one. I think we did that. I'm still pretty big on a ruckman. I still think we need one more ruckman on the list. I'm not sure if the idea is Tom De Koning, Mark Pitternet, and then maybe Harry chopping out in the forward line and Lewis Young chopping out in defense. I still believe we need another ruckman. I still believe you need to have 3 ruckmen on the list.
Yeah, that's my biggest one. And that might be my biggest question going into round 1 next year. I think there's some people out there that think Pitt is just a walk-up starter as the number 1 ruck, but I don't necessarily see it that way. I haven't really made up my mind. So I think there's still, we saw this year what it gets like when there's a couple injuries to that spot. It gets a bit desperate, and that'd be the one for me. Ian, do you have others?
I mean, that was the one that stood out. I think when we did what are our needs, it was we need a tall defender, we need another ruckman on the list. I think both of us were probably looking a bit more of that experienced head, maybe rather than going down, I guess, the youth sort of side of it. Because I think now that we're clearly not getting one in the trade period, I agree we need someone else on the list because Murkov is he's green. We don't worry about him. He's not going to play. He's that project guy you chuck on your rookie list. If you get games out of him, it's a plus, but you just can't expect him to be playing. I don't think he's played 2 games of VFL football, and that's pretty much about it. I just don't think he's ready. And I just personally, I don't think that going a guy in the draft is the right fit either, because we're sort of, if we think that TDK is the guy to take us forward, then we've got that young guy to come in. We've got Pito being 24, 25. There's a little bit more experience ready to go. Like if both of those get injured, then we'd be throwing in an 18-year-old. And I don't know if that's the right mix either, as much as I'd want someone on the list. So I think for what I'm probably looking at, I still would kind of like us to go a key defender, someone that can lock down. I think Lewis Young could be a player, but I'm maybe not as sold on him as maybe others. So I still would love us to just draft an 18-year-old and see what you can do, because I don't think you can ever have too many key tools. Worst case, you trade them off because they're hard to come by. And honestly, if I was just doing in the draft, I'd almost kind of go for best available, because I think that apart from, maybe a ruck or a key tool, we're pretty well versed in a lot of areas. So if you do find a steal that is another midfielder or is another small forward or whatever he is, I think you kind of just bring in the best talent. And worst case, I know people will hate me saying this, but you can move pieces around a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing as well. We don't know what the philosophy of our coaching group is. We know that David Teague and I guess Brendan Bolton to some extent as well, we know that they like to play the 3 tall forwards. Is Michael Voss going to want to do that? Like, there's a bit of an unknown. Like a lot of people have mentioned in comments and whatnot, move McGovern to defense. I don't know. Like that could be an option. I don't really know what they're going to do. So it's like it's a watch this space. I think a lockdown defender for like a small is something else that we need. And then the other part as well was throughout all year and even last year, a lot of the discussion, which seems to have gone quiet lately, is let's bring in winners. Let's bring in premiership players. Let's bring in, the Lions did it with Grant Birchall and before that, Luke Hodge. Is that something we still have room to do? I don't even know. But do you still think that we should do that? Or do you believe that, no, the assistant coaching group now will instill that leadership?
Oh, it's a really good question. I don't necessarily see it happening this year with who seems to be out there. I was going to touch on the lockdown defender as well, because I can see a few in the comments mentioning it. It's one that Ian and I talk about a bit, and people, we know Plowman has his deficiencies and people love to shit on him and make him the one that's all the problems. But I think if he goes down with an ACL in round 1, I think you're going to see just what a job he does on, please. Do not let that be the foreshadowing.
I do not claim that, bro.
If we don't have Plowman next season, I think we're going to have a tough job on some of the smaller defenders, mid-sized, that we have to take on. So it is a bit of a worry. It's so hard to know where we're going to be this year. I'm obviously really optimistic that we can push into the 8, but maybe it might be next off season where we inject 1 or 2 of the kind of the premiership guys. But like you said about the assistant coaches, a number of them have been there and done that. They know what the success looks like.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think there's always room for winners. I wouldn't mind it if there was one available. I don't think there just maybe is this season, and maybe that's why we haven't gone into that sort of vision for the list. And I guess, we've brought in a lot of experience in the assistant coaches and the coaching that hopefully that can breed something, whether that is what they are looking for. I don't know how many other teams do that anyway. Obviously Brisbane's the one that stands out, but I'm not too sure how many of the other 18 clubs have really targeted winning experience, that was the missing link. I think sometimes you can find that intrinsically and build those standards, and hopefully that's enough to go all that way. As far as like the small lockdown defender, I think it was funny because if you touch on Plowman, everyone was, as soon as he was out of the team last season for about 2 or 3 games, everyone was going, maybe we talk too much shit about Plowman, because I think we really need another small defender. He comes back in and then within 2 games, it's, fuck Plowman, what's he doing? He's making so many mistakes. And I think Pommy sort of summed it up best. If anyone listened to the potty midweek, he sort of said that hopefully with the systems and the ball not coming in so often with, conceding 19 goals in a row, that we'll hopefully have better structures around that we can actually use Plowman in a better way, that he's not getting bombarded one-on-one every single second of the game, because I don't think many players are going to look too good when you do that. I suppose the last thing with like trades that I sort of wanted to touch on is, obviously there's so many needs you can always look at. Ruckman, small lockdown defender. Do we need another small forward? Unfortunately, it's really hard to bring in, I guess, so many players at once. There's only so many list spots. There's only so many draft picks. And I think if you listen to Pommy and what Paolo did, we're looking at, how do you build the premiership side? They were saying that we shouldn't be bringing in too many guys that have been on other lists, because the premiership teams seem to build from within. So as much as it'd be nice to just bring in that guy and tick that off, I think sometimes maybe you've got to look at it at different avenues. And for now, maybe with that small lockdown defender, there's enough guys running through there that for one season, we can hopefully get away with it with a better just defensive and midfield system.
No, it's a good point. It's a really good point. Another one that's just come up here, MFC Sports Crime. Great show as always, guys. I like what the Blues have done this trade period. Any chance of Oscar McDonald getting another year? I think he is. I think he is getting a year. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I thought he was getting another year.
Yeah, I've seen Nick Austin say that they're keen to get him back up and running after the injuries that he had. So, yeah, I'd be pretty confident about that, which I think is a good decision.
Yep.
And us losing probably Levi as well. We probably were one tall down. We've brought in a Lewis Young, having a guy that can go forward, can go to defense. That definitely helps things a lot, I think.
For sure. All right, now we're going to move to the fan cam section of the show. So we're going to bring in some guests. I've got a few of them lined up. Let's start with Kira. Hello.
Hey boys, how are we?
Welcome.
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. You mentioned it at the start of the show and you spoke about it really nicely, but I just wanted to go back to the doing it for Doc. I don't want to lose sight of what it was like for and the result of it, the 175,000 supporting Doc. That's fantastic. It's incredible. But I can't help but feel how much it's galvanised our club from every corner, from past players, Andrew Walker, Sam Rowe, to supporters, president, and we were all on the exact same playing field. We were all level. We were all working together, pitching away for the common goal. And Friday onto Saturday, onto Sunday to today was incredible. And I'm so, so proud of this club and what they've been able to achieve in the past week. I just genuinely can't remember feeling this connected in every corner of the club. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, very, very well said. Very well said. I think I saw, was it Brad Hollis that put up the photo of Liam Stocker messaging him talking about like everyone is united, like the monks. I'm with you. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this before. Obviously, because we're in, social media world, social media era where, what you do, you can broadcast it, to everyone in the world. And, we are a community within the Carlton community, or the AFL community, I should say. And there's something really, really special about what's going on. The fact that, past players, fans, there's just a uniting, and I'm all for it, Kira.
So special. And even Nat, Doc's wife, when she posted and she said the Carlton family, that was really emotional, because I was like, Doc and Nat are sitting there discussing us as if we're family and not just some crazy people that yell at them when they play bad and love them when they play good. Like, they actually, and it just, care is a big word that got thrown around in 2021, and how much do they care? I think this week could not show more how much they truly care and how much we all care about this club. And I think it's an amazing step in the right direction.
Yep. Yeah, perfectly said, Kira. I couldn't add anything more to that. I think, it was hard not to feel emotional every time you saw a post and a donation, that kind of thing. It's a great thing that they've been able to achieve.
Sorry, go.
Yeah, I almost started crying a little bit, like tearing up when I saw that TDK had actually shaved his head, because he was one that even the boys were chatting about when I think it was Sauce and Fisher were getting their head shaved. They're like, oh, is Tom going to do it or not? And they're like, oh, I might just be donating. And I guess to know that for some people, obviously, like, and Terry as well, it's like the hair for some people as well, it does mean quite a lot to you.
Oh, yeah.
So to have the I guess, to have the courage to do it as well. Obviously, what Doc's going through is a whole nother kind of courage, but to do that for someone else that you love and that you want to support and show that you're by their side, it just means so much. And then to go to that other level where, Stocker's talking about all the boys lining up round one with shaved heads, it would just be a spectacle and it'd be something to get these boys together. You can't help but go, I only want to see these boys with shaven heads for the rest of their AFL careers, and that's going to be the Carlton way. You come to the club, we're going the skinheads. It's happening, boys.
As soon as you get traded, get it off.
I like it. It's a reset, and I think there's something in that as well. Like, I'm obviously the way I'm taking it on Thursday is it's like on a personal level, it's a reset in all facets, new beginnings, new starts. Where can I get better in things that I do in my life? There's something in that for me as well. That's the other part that I'm taking, like not taking things for granted and just being better at what has already happened and just going up another level. I think there's something in that we should all take from, and we'll speak to Pom shortly. I can see his head's already shaved, and maybe he can touch on that as well if he felt like a refreshment or if you felt a new wave of life. So if there's any other fans out there, it's not too late to get involved. Upload your photos, tag us on Instagram, join in on Thursday. Kira, I won't put you on the spot and ask you to shave your head. That's okay.
Sorry guys, I donated. I'm keeping my hair.
No, that's totally fine. But Kira, I appreciate you coming on. I welcome as always, and we look forward to chatting to you some more.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, legend.
See ya.
Here he is.
Here's trouble.
I've had some good compliments about my hair. I've had everything from Jason Statham stunt double to Sinead O'Connor. which honestly,
which is
just
better.
Shout out to the guy that DM'd me the abuse saying you look like Sinead O'Connor, because that made me laugh. It's not often abuse makes me laugh. No, I wanted to talk about the Sinead O'Connor. God, unbelievable, tiger. I wanted to talk about, we're talking about mentality, and I think we've had some really, really good comparisons. And I wanted to spot them out. So we've got Voss. He's talking about playing a powerful brand. He's talking about playing his mantra is intent around the ball. He's recruited coaches that come with a pedigree of passion, desire first, above skill. The intent has to be first. And in my opinion, you look at that and you compare it against David Teague. We try. We sing Ring a Ring of Roses before a game. Excuse building exercise. You see the difference in mindset of impact versus react. And I also think with the players coming in, Adam Shearer spoke like a 42-year-old man.
Oh, didn't he?
He knew what he wanted. He knew what he was about, what he was going to bring to the club, but more importantly, what the club brought to him. And I think you're starting to see a culture shift. When you see people like Gibbons pop shot in the media, David Teague pop shot in the club through his agent, these are acts really of petulance and childishness and kind of self-absorbedness versus this modern day recruit of this mature Jacob Wheatley mode, Sam Walsh. This is what these young kids are being taught now, being focused, very insular focused, that I think you're starting to maybe feed out that old school mentality of we're owed something because we won a flag in 95 to this, we get the flag by taking something. And I'm really excited about that. Don't all speak at once.
I'll let you go. I'll go. No. There's something. Yeah, there's. I'm with you on that. And just on the Gibbons thing as well. Again, we talked about all we know about what goes on in the inside is what he said in the media and what happens on game day. That's really, they're a byproduct of the environment that they're in. Is it a surprise that David T came out and made the comments that he did and he was treated unfairly and all of that, and that Gibbons felt that he could do that as well? I mean, I'm trying to think, like, what would the Premiership heroes, the guys that actually go down in folklore as heroes of the club, what would they think about the comments that were made today or yesterday? Like, what would they say? The guys that actually did the work and actually succeeded, because there's a reality. Not everyone can win. That's the whole point of sport. It's not about participation awards and everyone getting a fair go and getting the recognition. So I do wonder about that. And again, they're all little things, but these little things are starting to really add up now. That shows a change. It's so clear to me.
And even I think you look like an SPS, for instance, as someone that probably criticism for him is like, does he try enough? Is he, doing enough in the preseason to get fit enough to go into the midfield? Does he have that hunger? And I guess, not to pot shot him, but the easy option was always to go to another club and get that fresh start. And I wanted to play maybe a different position or whatever. It's like, well, you'd need to nail it down at Carlton first. If I guess to be critical, we've been awful for most of his time here. If you can't get into that midfield, that's maybe an issue on you, not the football club. And so I think there's even the sort of those little things that you can look at for another player that is maybe leaving, that maybe we might be better off for that, because, I mean, Vossi goes to him and says, it sounded like he was maybe trying to convince him as being a player that he wanted to stay at the club. And if that's not convincing you and you're still wanting to go, then maybe we're better off for this reset where the people that really want to stay, dig in, do that hard work, they're going to stay for a reason, and we're going to get success because of it.
God, 100%. I mean, yeah, sorry, go.
I was just going to say, I love seeing you rub your hands across that bull's scalp pump. So please talk and continue to rub.
Mate, I'm still getting used to it, man, honestly. I mean, the one thing I think as well about this shaved head that no one's talking about is, imagine Dustin Martin looking up round one and seeing 50,000 skinheads and 22 skinheads. He'll think he's back at one of his dad's barbecues when he was 7. Like, he's got some proper flashbacks, isn't he? He's got some proper withdrawals, bless him. But no, honestly, joking apart, I think that's an important thing, because coming from my background as a golf coach working with some elite professionals, I can tell you what I heard from Gibbons today is me when I was 21. And that led to drug abuse, going into rehab and quitting the game and becoming a coach. Sometimes you get too much too soon and you think the effort I've put in is going to get the reward. But then you realize when you're a bit older, this is the big boy league now. I was the big boy of kids. Now I'm the kid of the big boys, and you've got to work every day. And the hunger the good players have, I heard in Adam Chera's voice, the fact that he said he's not the finished article, there's more to come. And I guarantee you now, Adam Chera's worked damn fucking hard to get to where he is now. But that is what separates the good from the great. Them who are never satisfied. They know I've put in 100%, but to get to the next level, I need to put 110% in. So this 100% is 90, because that's the effort I'm putting in. And that is what excites me, because we're the only club recently a player has left or a coach has left, and they jump over themselves to stick the knives in, which says to me is a lack of respect, for the club, a lack of respect for us, the guys who pay their wages, the guys and girls at the end of the day. We're the lifeblood of the club. And 3, a lack of respect for yourself and who you are. And that's what really excites me. A bit of self-assessment from these boys. I am so excited about Adam Chera and George Hewitt. He might not talk well because he's a bit of a country boy, you can tell. But what is wonderful about him is he's got a desire there. He's got a purpose in life about making us improve. And that's what he said. It's a talented list, and I can't wait to help improve it. That's the words we want to hear now. We don't want to hear, I'm here to collect paychecks and wave flags around and stuff. We want people to make an impact, and I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, Stuart pointed out in the YouTube comments that, you know, under Voss, no one's going to be getting a free ride going forward, and it's hard not to believe that. The things that, you know, people have been calling for the years, guys like that don't necessarily deserve it. It just doesn't feel like that's going to happen. And you're right, like they called for this reset, and I think everything they've done has honestly been the right move since Sayers has come in. And oh yeah, God, Pom, after we finished the pod the other night, I was so goddamn amped for round one, and I'm still struggling to contain it.
I can't see us losing a game next year.
We won't lose.
I can't see it. I mean, final thing I'll say as well about Gibbons and Ramsey, what excites me about them is go back through Carlton's list. Kerridge just kept getting another year for banter. Paulson kept getting another year because we thought miraculously he'd get better. This is what good clubs do. Because I tell you now, when you look at Gibbons, you can't tell me that the level he's reached, I reckon that's the plateau. I'd rather see Honey get the option to do that, because that's going to pay us back for an extra 4 years. And that's what good clubs do. Good clubs don't hang on to their average players. Good clubs jettison them or sell them to Carlton like GWS did. That's what they do. And I'm excited about that we're starting to make the hard decisions, because that would have been a hard decision for Carlton because Gibbons was light. And that's the kind of one that Carlton go, oh, we better give him 2. Do you know what I mean? And we'll give him the pod again because everyone loves the pod. That is a ballsy decision, and I applaud that. And I think the way Gibbons has reacted says to me, I'll be glad to boo that guy when we play him, because I boo every ex-player, and I'll be glad to boo him.
Yeah, when he's playing for North Melbourne, can't wait.
No, I was thinking about when he's playing Williamstown in the VFL. I'll go down and see it, and I'll boo him, chuck a pie at him. So let's be having you, mate.
No, it's
I think
true.
you're spot on there, though. Sorry there, Tez.
No,
but
you're
I
right.
think that it's probably the first time in a long time that fans, or a portion of the fans, have actually been annoyed that we've delisted someone, which just shows how far we've come, that we've gotten to this stage where we've got an okay enough list where you're getting rid of someone that could probably fit on maybe somewhere's list, or would have definitely been a nailed on for us in the past. And you're only going to get better if you're starting to make these hard calls like Pommy's saying, and get rid of the guys that you think, could he still play? Should he be there? That's only positives for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say one more thing on the Gibbons thing, which I won't really say much at all. It kind of reminded me of this.
This right here is their grand final. They're going to be celebrating like Italy just won the Euros again. That's what we've given them. We've given them hope. We've given them fucking hope. How? Why? Yeah? Because we're pathetic. We didn't show any heart in that last quarter. Are you kidding me?
Do you remember the kid in year 6 that used to eat the glue stick?
It's just noise. I just heard noise.
That's what happened. That's what happened when he grew up. Bless him. Bless him. Tell you what, I can't wait to see Swoop, Luke and Gibbo in a podcast.
I can't wait.
They could call it the Meltcast.
Pom, before we move on, I'm going to put some images up because you've started a business, mate. And you've been talking about this for a while with me. I'm going to put some photos up. As I do that, give us a bit of a rundown. What do you got going on?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a little bit of a nerd. So I went out the other day and I doing development as a job. I had my own development meeting, and it was informed to me that maybe I should look at doing something for myself because I'm very self-motivated, and because it's external. They probably shouldn't tell you that when you work for someone, but I thought, let's give it a shot. So I thought, I love football. I love stats. I make these heat maps for you guys. What would I put on my wall? So I found a little hole in the market. So I'm recreating. We've got caricatures of professional players. We've got historical. We've got best goals they've ever scored. A variety of sports, NBA, EPL, soccer, golf, cricket, tennis. They're all going to be up there in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that's it really. It's called Sports. It's called Pommy's Sports Almanac because Back to the Future is my favourite show, so I thought I'd hyphen that. But yeah, that's it. It's that's me now. That's what me and Zoe are doing. I'm still working, but hopefully this means I can tell my boss to go and shove it.
Love it. So these are basically, so there's Eddie Betts' goal against Collingwood in 2006, Andrew Walker's goal against St Kilda in 2013, and then Mark Murphy's goal against Freo in 2019. So you've basically recreated that sort of the position where every player was on the field at the time and whatnot.
Yeah. So it's effectively just we've got them in football. We've got the state of play. So AFL doesn't quite have that. So consider it a heat map for a key point of event. But yeah, that's what it is. So we've got them. We can do them to order as well. We are obviously, it's conjecture of what the best goal is. So we've tried to take 3 from each team to start with, but we can do anything. If it's been videoed at any point in time, we can manually recreate it. So just drop us an email.
All right. Well, I will be definitely getting that Mark Murphy one.
That's why we did it there. We did it to snare you. Snare you and Shan. I was like, I know you and Shan will be straight there.
It'll be Shannon, myself, and Natalie that buy the 3 that get sold.
I was like, I know Shan's husband is getting that for Christmas straight away. He's going to be like, can you gift wrap it with a rose or something? So,
no, love it. All right, Pom, we'll see you on Thursday, mate. Big night ahead.
Yeah, mate. I can't wait to go and mug some old people. And good to see you, Big Ian and Lockie.
Good to see you, big fella.
All right. Speaking of Shannon, hello.
Hi.
How are we doing?
Hello.
Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
I can't help but laugh at that man. He's the best. He actually is literally the best.
It's hard not to feel pumped about life after speaking to him.
That's true. Like, he just randomly dropped me a message any day of the week just for a laugh. It's the best. He's got a great character and a great personality, and it's just something that I think we need in the world. We need more pommies in the world, I think.
No,
Agreed.
So. It's come a long way from 2 years ago.
This is very true. First of all, Tez,
Yes.
I will be watching because I think what you're doing is huge for you, because I know that your hair is like everything. So I'm super proud of you.
Got to be done.
Look, you are just a vision. You'll be a vision. It's just going to be the best thing ever.
No, it's cool. It's just cool to be one of the many role players. That's what it's all about, playing a little part.
It is. And while I'm here, for those that are watching, the Cheer Squad are doing a raffle. We are raffling off Sam Doherty's boots.
Yep.
Kindly donated by one of our Cheer Squad members. So if you guys want to hit up the Cheer Squad page, we are still selling for the rest of this week, drawn on the 15th for one lucky person winning Docker's boots. All money going to Peter Mac. Something that
Amazing.
Prize too.
It's a ripper prize. They're signed boots.
Yeah.
So it's huge. I haven't been on in a while, so I thought I'd start with how good Michael Voss's appointment is, just quietly, like just the way he goes about speaking. He said more words since his appointment than David Teague did in a year, so that's already one positive.
I have a feeling he won't be shy to pick up the phone during a game.
Oh my God, can you imagine actually doing a watch along and seeing him pick up a phone? We can dream.
Any type of emotion from the sideline to be a big plus.
Oh, I think I showed more emotion watching Mark Murphy's last game than David Teague in any game this year. So, not hard.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think even just across the board, I think there's been a clear. They've listened. I think they've really done their research and they've really looked at ways to connect. It's exciting. I hope it's not just a couple of months thing. I hope that there is a real direction for that moving forward. And I think there's always a balance you've got to strike. Sometimes you might need to make some mistakes because that's really what this world is. You've got to make mistakes to learn where to push and where to not. But the willingness to be bold and innovative is crucial. It's crucial in the modern landscape because you've got to think about like the next generation of fans, like the kids right now, 9 years old up until the age of 15. Like at the moment, they're watching streamers, they're watching gamers, not watching sports like they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. So you've got to do something that grasps them and gets them engaged. And I think the family tie will do that for most children. I mean, I'm obviously just speaking on like anecdotal terms, but it's an important decade for the sport, considering it's only played in Australia professionally.
That's right. And I feel that given all the promises that we've been spilled out to us over the last couple of years, I'm actually genuinely excited for what's to come with this list and what's to come with this football club. I've been following this club for my entire life. So I've seen one flag and that's not really much for me, being like 4 at the time. So it's just that genuine, like you say it every year, we're so excited, this, that, and the other, but I actually feel it a lot more now. I don't know what it is. It's just something about I think you guys were talking about it before, that culture shift, and you can feel it from the top down now. And I'm disappointed in Gibbons, and I don't want to keep harping on about it, but I feel like I taste a little bit of salt in what he was talking about today. He just seemed very salty. And I don't think that's the kind of person we want around the club, unfortunately. No offense to him as a person, but just the way he went about himself in that interview probably just doesn't sit well with me, and probably doesn't sit well with many people, as you've touched on.
Shannon, I was raging today. I was raging. I was filthy. I was filthy because I was disappointed because I expected better. That's why. I had an expectation that he would go about it in a certain way, and that didn't meet my expectation. And what's my expectation? That doesn't really matter. He's allowed to feel the way he feels, and there's no doubt about that. But yeah, I just didn't hear him say I'm grateful for the opportunity. Didn't hear him say what I can do better. And now the fans will have their say back.
Literally.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll touch on what you said as well about the culture shift, because I mean, if you think back to just 3 or 4 months ago, it was all looking pretty grim, and there wasn't a whole lot of direction, and we had no idea what. Some people you're like, oh, give Teague the full go, like he's our man. Everyone was divided, and now it just feels like everybody has finally kind of come together for the single direction. And yeah, look, Ian and I have seen one flag in our lives as well. It was the Wizard Home Loans Cup flag, but that's that's all we've got at this point. So
which one?
Yeah. Oh, which one? Oh, you're right.
So we've won 2, mate. I think you're selling it short.
I must have missed
We've
that
beaten
one.
West Coast, and I was at the. I've been at a grand final. I was there when we beat
Yeah.
Brisbane, mate. That was a big one.
Oh, there you go. Well, I was at the West Coast one, so I'm glad we represented both. Yeah, look, very stiff to miss 95, but we'll be back there soon.
100%. We will be. And just looking at Melbourne's fans, and I know a few of them, and just watching the pure elation. I've actually said it multiple times to my husband that I'll be gone for a month if we win a flag.
When?
Oh,
when
yeah.
we win the flag? When?
Yeah, we're winning it next year. That Kool-Aid's
Absolutely.
sitting in my fridge ready to go. So we're on.
Can you imagine when we beat Richmond round 1?
No, the lids will be off.
Stop that! It's October. It's October.
Maybe that's the big part here. We've talked about the club changing and doing things for the fans. That's what they've got to do. When we win the flag, the club have to make official Carlton Kool-Aid, sell it out, Premiership Kool-Aid. That would be just. Mwah.
I'm with that.
Bring on round 1. I'm just so excited. We're beating them by 25 points. You heard it here from me first. It's
I'm
on
clipping
record
that
now.
Yeah, I'm clipping that and playing it in the preview for round 1.
Can
Deal.
you?
Like you said about the Demons fans, how much they kind of came out of the woodwork and were celebrating. That's what I just cannot wait to see from our community, because the way that the Melbourne supporters have lit up the streets of Richmond around where I live, since the grand final, Carlton's going to be able to double that. So,
Lygon Street, you'll not be able to move.
Nah.
No,
not at all.
Sensational.
Shan, love your work. We will be in touch.
We will. See you soon.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
All right. We've got one more. Mr. Beach.
Gentlemen, how are we?
Melbourne's
doing, mate?
best study
Good
behind
you.
him. I'm calling it.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Gary. Thank you.
What's happening?
Look, not much, mate. Just a quick one. You guys know we gave up our pick 6 for Adam Cherry with a future third. Do you try to get a first round pick higher up, like say close to the top 10, or do you leave it as is?
Good question. I guess when there was those rumors that we were trying to get back into the first round, I loved the idea of it. I think as much as I think pick 6 is fine for Chera, we need these guys that are going to be that little bit older. I mean, how many times for the past 3 years we've all been saying we don't need another 18-year-old. We need a 24, 25-year-old. We need those guys that are going to be in that age bracket. But I think now that we've probably started to get that list, it's still good to get in a couple of those really high-end talents. Probably the issue for me is it depends what we actually give up, because I think there were talks that we were going to try and get rid of our future sort of first next year. And that worries me a little bit, just because then it sort of stunts our next year as well. And potentially with, I guess, COVID maybe settling down a little bit in the state competitions, maybe getting a better run at it. I still think this year, maybe after the top sort of 10 or so, there's maybe a bit of a lucky dip. You don't know exactly what you're going to get because it's sort of been 2 years of their critical development. So I think for me, I'm kind of, if we could get it in a decent deal, I'd take it, but I'm pretty happy for us to get all our picks for next season and really attack that one if we can.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think also when you look at what happened a few years ago, over the last few years, I should say, like Jack Carroll was an underage prospect who we knew was always going to take some time. I think Brody Kemp in some respects was as well, because we knew he was injured. He had done his ACL. So we knew that would pay us back in the future. I think Sam Philby's not so different to that. that notion as
Yeah.
well. We obviously traded a future pick to get Liam Stocker in, so we feel like we've done a bit of that already, and we don't need to rush into this draft unless there is a particular player that we see that we definitely need. I don't know. I think, Ian, you mentioned that the compromised nature of the draft over the last 2 years because of COVID. So maybe if you're going to be missing out on a top 10, top 15 pick, maybe this is the year to do that. And also, all right, we've traded pick 6, which will become 8, but we're getting a guy that will absolutely be playing around 1. And you would think he would be in our best 10 to 12-ish players or better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
you're spot on. It's all about who that specific player is as well. And I think we need to have faith in them that if a trade does go down and they do move up, that we think it's because they've got intel on something big that's brewing there. So, yeah, got to put your faith in them. And, if they're going to do something like they did with Stocker, we know what he's going to be now. So if they can pull something off like that, I'll put my faith in them.
It could be interesting because there were those rumors that we tried to do it, and then all of a sudden it was Nick Austin comes out and says, no, all our business is done. So potentially the price was too heavy for where we saw a player coming. Wouldn't surprise me if the guy we were after slides on draft night. Who knows? Maybe we will go back in. Maybe there's some drama on draft night.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Love it. Anything else on your mind, Beachy?
Well, you've already touched on Doc. He needs some luck to come his way. This is unbelievable. What he's been handed. Two ACLs and then a second bout of testicular cancer. The guy just needs to be left alone and have some good luck come his way.
Yeah.
And something I think we probably haven't quite as touched on as I thought. Peter Bazzusto. He's been feeling a bit of the cancer battle as well. Now, obviously, when you're older, cancer is a bit more difficult to deal with. But hopefully he can get past this as well, so that way we can all unite together. And by the time we come to hopefully the next flag, we'll be going absolutely crazy for everybody.
No, well said. Well said. Didn't hear. I think Sam Doherty's one that definitely could do with a complaining session about how hard he's had it and how unfair it is. So, it's like we said before. I'm not even putting any expectation on him next year, like if he plays or not. Like if he plays a game again, that's a bonus and that'll be massive. But it's just more about health and again, it's that sobering moment that, oh shit, we get so caught up in footy that there's a human being with a family and all of that. So it's a unfortunate, bittersweet reminder to us all, I think.
Exactly right, Terry. Exactly right.
Spot on, Tez.
Yeah. Love it. All right, mate. Well, we will be in touch. We'll see you next week.
Done. Thanks, Tez.
Awesome.
Thanks, boys.
See you, mate.
See you, legend.
Catch ya.
All right, lads. Anything else on your mind before we wrap it up?
I'm just trying to keep the lid on, mate. After all that, I need to hibernate or something for a few months.
It's too hard. It's too hard. One piece of news comes out. You know what hasn't happened yet? The photos, like preseason photos.
Yeah.
Once they start coming out, it's like, oh, look how much size he's put on and all of that. But the other beauty of what we have now in the industry is like, the AFLW will start and we'll get to really, dig into that. I'm keen. I mean, there is a serious redemption year ahead of us with the girls. They also made some big changes in the off season, some big names left. And, it's almost like, all right, we've got a young core now and it's your club now. So there's a responsibility on them too. And I'm excited. They give me joy because like, I know that when I'm going to watch them, they're going to play a certain way. They're tough,
Yeah, they've got a massive point to prove, I think, with obviously underachieving last year. Probably we're going to win the flag and then COVID took it away. And now big changes, as you mentioned, a lot of like some of the stars, I guess, have left. We've got this young core coming through. I guess just seeing the girls training has been amazing. It just psychs you up as much as we're keen for the men. Seeing all that gets me super up and about. Can't wait to see them just do this club proud. And I guess another thing, just like to go back on the men as well, was you sort of touched on seeing the preseason photos. I think this is another one of these things in the cultural change. It's one of the first times, and obviously it's just maybe it's a token thing, but the amount of, I don't see the boys sitting down, enjoying themselves. I know there's maybe a COVID reason for that, but all I'm seeing from every single player is they're in the gym, they're going for a run, they're doing something to do with fitness to get ready for the next season. So I think even if you're just projecting that to the social media, that's showing me to some extent that you know that that's what you need to be doing. And I just think there's so much to be excited about with this club for the men and the women. It's going to be a big year next year.
Well, it's usually this time of year where you see the boys in the Lavazza tent, in the birdcage, at the races with their cocktails, and you just think, oh, am I reading into it? They're at the races and whatnot. But obviously, they can't. Oh, I think you can go to the races this year. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Like Harry Mackay, back doing his program with the Speed Project, working on that speed again. Like they're putting the work in. Corey Durden, he spoke on that interview. I watched the whole thing. He talked about where he's at in his preseason program already. So yeah, look, little baby steps, but ultimately got to beat the Tigers round one before I can be really convinced that something's changed.
Yeah, and it feels crazy to think, but soon enough, hopefully we're all going to be able to come together at a game, and we'll be able to get down to some open trainings and preseason and all that kind of thing, and be together and enjoy this all, and and show how this culture shift has just gone through the whole family.
That's the other part as well that is coming. We have a new facility, so for us, like my mum, uncles, aunties, and generations beforehand, like it was all about Princess Park, and of course memories are there. This new facility is coming, and we are going to be the guinea pigs. We're going to create new memories there, and that's also exciting. That I think that'll be another layer of, oh wow, we've entered into the modern world with our brand new facility, and I'm hoping that brings with it some good memories too.
It's gonna be very exciting. Everything's just getting me way too pumped up. The lid is well and truly off. It's ridiculous.
Round one predictions. Let's go.
Let's do it. Lads, I've really enjoyed tonight. It's absolutely flown by. I've gone for 90 minutes. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. Let us know in the comments. Let the people know who are in the comments commenting right now where they can find you and your handles and whatnot.
Oh, geez, it's a lot for me to get this right here. So check out at Navy Blue Corner on all the social medias, on Insta, Twitter, Facebook. We're on YouTube as well. We're going to start to do a bit more video content as well, so you'll be able to see our faces. And then on any streaming service, through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to it, Navy Blue Corner, type it in. It will be there. We'll send out links on our social media. So that's the best place to get us. Again, at Navy Blue Corner. If you like it, jump on. It's always good fun.
Love it. Easy done. Well, that'll do it, ladies and gents. Thanks for being here tonight. And stay tuned. There's heaps coming through this week. And we'll see you next Monday. See you, boys.
Go Blues.